Hello, everybody. Welcome in to Off the Post. As always, it's your girl Karma, and today I am joined by a special guest, NRG's head coach, also known as Sizz, in the community. How you doing, Sizz?
Hi, Karma. How you doing?
I'm doing good. And as always, we also have Kronovi and Spaceman joining in alongside. And yeah, it's going to be an interesting episode today because there have been a lot of roster stuff going on in the Rocket League scene. And we have, Sizz here to give us all the information. No information leaks here, but we're going to have a good time talking about like teams that are coming in. And I think Cam had a good question that I'm kind of going to steal from him to start off the episode.
Go for it.
It was about like you being a coach, Sizz, and I get mad at this a lot. I don't know how you guys feel, but I see this go around all the time as like, oh, this coach was hired because he was a hype man. Oh, this coach was hired because he's an analytical dude. Like, can we talk about what like this like slander that is going on around the community, like categorizing Rocket League coaches as if they're like only a specific type, because that's just blasphemy.
People talk about this every single day. Like every day, it's always mentioned that some coaches are hype men and some are not. Like there was literally an article posted by Shift a while back saying that me and Marky were just hype men and we had no clue about analytics involving the game. And then they would mention coaches that like didn't even play in RLCS or some that did, like just pretty much equal to us, but because me and Marky are just like trolls, like we're just memers.
You have a personality.
We just get we just get less recognition as that. Like every coach does all of it. Like you're supposed to do all of it. It's not like you're just limited to one thing, and that doesn't make any sense. That's like it's like talking about NBA coaches and like having them be like the head coach doesn't plan anything involving anything. He just like sits there and just like is like, yeah, good job, guys, good stuff. You guys are doing great. Like there's other stuff involved that like I don't like to sit there on stream and discuss our strategies, and people expect me to do that, I guess, to like prove I'm a coach, but I'm not gonna do that because the whole point of strategy is to keep it to yourselves. That goes for other teams too. Like some coaches will talk about their stuff on stream for their play style for their team. I never understand that because like if you're adjusting your play style and you're coming up with strategies for different teams, which is a lot of it, like you're trying to figure out what other teams are doing more than just your own. That way you can figure out ways to counter, and then you're revealing those strategies. It's like I don't understand why you do that. So
yeah, and you even see like BDS has like an entire encyclopedia on teams. You think he's gonna leak that stuff all over the scene? I mean, come on, bro.
Yeah, exactly. Like I have notes written on every team we played at LAN, like just watching the replays before, and we have those notes and we go over them. But like I'm not gonna reveal any of that stuff because it shows how we think and like what we do to try to counter stuff. So there's no point to to reveal any of that.
Yeah, well, I did have a few questions about just maybe not necessarily specific strategic stuff. You don't have to leak anything you don't want to, Sizz. But last season, I think I think you could agree it was a bit difficult for you guys over at NRG, especially near the end. And this season is gearing up to be one of the most competitive ones ever. And I think it's very clear that the pace of the game is just increasing quite a bit. Do you have any insights or maybe any focuses that you're looking at that way you can get ahead this time of this season and really not necessarily make up for last season, but I know you guys set a high bar over at NRG and you'd really like to just put up some insane results at the start of this season?
Yeah, I mean, we had a bad showing ever since the Sweden LAN. Like we got second, and then after that we just like fell off pretty much, like straight up. So I mean, merely it would just like we felt like we were at the start of the season. We felt we were like further ahead. So and then slowly as the season went on, we just like realized we weren't. And not only just like strategically, like we just felt like mechanically outpaced sometimes. Like all of us felt like we weren't giving it our all, especially like within a team environment. We had a lot of just personal team issues. It wasn't like we were just like angry at each other, but there was like differences in how we wanted to play and like differences on how we wanted to approach scrims and stuff like that didn't get resolved until before the major. So us placing top 8 at the major was honestly better than we expected. Like we thought we weren't going to do that well because leading up to it for like 4 months, 5 months, we had a terrible showing on every account. Like we didn't make the LAN. We got I forgot what we.
You talking about Worlds?
We got,
when you say major, is that what you mean?
Sweden.
Oh no! Oh yeah, I meant World. Sorry. Yeah, we didn't make the. We made the LA LAN, and then we got like, I don't know, 16th place, something bad, or not 16th, 12th place, and then we didn't make the last LAN in Paris. I think I literally forgot already, but or London. And then at Worlds we had not the best showing. We got 8th place, and obviously, like, it's decent for World out of 24 teams, but like it's not what we wanted to do. But it's good for us, I guess, for our bad experience before. But this coming season, we've already had a lot of stuff we've been working on, and like we're doing more replays, and like we're scheduling more stuff to try to like actually talk more as a more strategy overall. We already did that last season, but this season we're kind of going in watching other teams more. Like before, we would kind of just watch ourselves and like look at one team to counter and keep doing that over and over. And now we already have kind of a baseline strategy we've been working on since last season. We're just kind of adjusting it more slowly instead of trying to revert into a wholly different play style. So it is kind of based off what you're saying, Crow, like trying to pick up the pace, because like we've always just been kind of a counterattack team. Like you notice us like kind of having a deep third, and then our midfield kind of turned to keep the pressure on. Like that was what we always did. And then, you know, now it's like everyone is faster, everyone's better, people can score at will easier. It's hard to defend every shot, but everyone can defend every shot if you like, you know, manage your boost right, stuff like that. So we're just adjusting slowly to the faster pace of the game, pretty much.
Yeah, it's sorry, Sean, did you go ahead?
No, go ahead. I'll jump in after you.
I was just gonna say it at least for me when I was a player, it felt really difficult to adjust to that speed at first from being in the game since the beginning. Like the whole idea that these rotations that I learned since the very beginning kind of, not really, but kind of were thrown out the window. It's almost like learning the game again, I feel like. Like I'm working with someone just on my own time about like trying to understand the meta better and stuff like that. And there's just so many little different things that have changed that I feel like it's nice to hear a team say, okay, we're not just going to get rid of like a player and that's our problem. It's we're going to internally look at stuff together as a group and focus on that and improve.
Yeah. And a lot of people expect us to make a roster change because we had a one bad season. But like, if you genuinely look at the entirety of North America, like one, I don't think there's anyone we would want to replace. And then two, it's like, even if we did want to replace them, like how much of an improvement would it really be? Like we're going to throw away, 2 years of a team environment that we've built, and then just bring in a new player for a honeymoon phase with someone that we have to integrate into our play style, or we just work on what we're currently working on and improve it more with 3 players who are already some of the best in their league. They just didn't have a great showing last season. That's just the reality of it. But it's like, they're always at the top of the ranks. I know ranks doesn't really matter that much, but they're always at the top of the leaderboards. They're always grinding. They're always focusing on improving. And that's the mentality you want to have if you want to keep winning. You got to keep doing that. It's hard to do it, but if you want to stay at the top, it goes for any esport, any sport. You have to just keep grinding and like push through like the tilt.
Real quick, sorry, Sean. Just to follow up on that, how important do you think it is, Sizz, for players to have teammates around them that they are, I don't want to say like friends with, but comfortable with, have a good time with, as compared to like just pure raw skill? Is it like, do you weigh that super high in a team environment? Because I feel like for NRG anyway, as NRG's like self-proclaimed #1 fan, I think everyone's just like kind of chill on the team, and I like that. And I think that helps a lot on rosters instead of like just picking players that you think are good and kind of meshing. You know what I mean? Do you think that plays a big part for your team in particular? Or are you guys just all about dubs and you're all just like, okay, we're gonna win, focus on that? I think it is important. I think it has its ups and downs. Like the fact that you're all friends, you're easily comfortable with each other, and comms are usually good, and you can be open with each other. But the hard part is because you're friends, sometimes you don't want to call them out on things, and like a lot of what would happen like was like the team would go through me or issues they felt with other teammates rather than going directly to them, because it was just hard. It's not comfortable for people who are young to confront other people.
So
Mhm.
it's easier for them to talk to me, and then but then not because of like a whole issue of like there was no honesty between each other, and that's where like the whole lapse was last season, and we've definitely remedied that. We're way past that now, but that is the one thing that when you're friends with people, it is hard to just talk to them straight up about like genuine issues you feel, but it is also really easy to talk to them about anything else, whether it's outside of the team or if it's just like personal mechanics and stuff, like talking about yourself. That's usually easier, but talking directly about someone else is hard for them.
When BDS was making their reign, and it was Mark Byatt was still on the team, and they had kind of picked up the speed in Europe, and it was freaking everybody out. I remember one of the biggest conversations North America had at the time was, what are we going to do, we being proverbial, what are we going to do to combat this? Like, how are we going to, because BDS was smoking people speed-wise. They were playing much faster than everybody else, and the big question was, like, can Vitality play slow and still compare? And they did, but when BDS started making those moves, and it feels like ever since then, Europe has exploded when it comes to pacing, and NA's caught up quite a bit, but the battle in NA came down to not pacing, but really it was like fundamentals for a while. It was like Envy and SSG and NRG. They were like the top three, beating each other senseless on the field. Every other regional, we were rotating who was the number one dog. And then speed started becoming more of a factor in NA. And then we saw some roster changes. And this season, a lot of times, I saw NRG kind of on that door of like, if they win this, they stay alive. If they lose, they're out of the tournament. And I felt bad because I kept getting them in that situation. It was terrible for me. But when we were watching you guys, I've seen a lot of esports, and I was one of the loudest proponents of saying like NRG at this point, and this point was being more of like June, July, August. I was like, I think NRG need a roster change. I was one of those people who's like, it seems that moment in Space Jam when everybody touches the basketball and they lose all the powers, it was like the yips. I didn't know what was going on. When you look at a team now that's staying together, and I think it's clear that there's reasons we're keeping them together. That doesn't happen very often in esports. When a team goes from championship caliber to they're struggling to make top 8. When we've gotten to that point now, when you're going into this season, not even worried about the pacing of Europe because that's its own beast, you guys will tackle at some point. Whenever a team looks to make a roster change, we talk about with players, we say they need an environment. Maybe it's 3 players together to look great, but sometimes at the end of the day, dynasties fall. They need a change of environment to get them re-energized. What is the environment? Is it a location? Is it an idea? Is it a play style? Is it a place? Is it something intangible? What is the environment for NRG this season that did not exist last season that you think will be the catalyst to get this team back on track?
It's definitely just like last, I'm just gonna give an example rather than just word it. It's like last season, like the players, okay, again, like the players would have issues, they would message me, right? But this season already, we're constantly like open and sharing. Like everyone's talking like, I think you should do this. I think I should do this. I think we should all do this. And it's like every player is individually talking. I'm chiming in. I'm saying my stuff. They're going off what I'm saying. There's one of them, like Squishy will say something. We go off what he's saying and elaborate on it. Like we do that a lot more now. Last season, we just didn't do that. Like we would say something and no one would speak after. Like people would just talk. No one would speak. No one would like intake the information, and like that was the end of it. But now it's so much more like active communications between everyone. Everyone is participating and improving the team, which is so necessary. Like it's hard to sit there and message one person about your feelings, like each player individually, and then not communicate that to everyone else. Like if you're just keeping it to yourself, then you're not. It's just like no one ever going to improve. But that's like our new environment that we've been working towards, and it's been doing good so far. Like we feel more comfortable for sure in scrims. There's like issues sometimes we have still, but like they get fixed faster than they did before.
Do you think that a cognizant understanding from everybody now, and oftentimes it is about getting players kind of to lock in, and I think viewers hear that and they're thinking, well, are they not trying when they're playing? And it's not that. It's just there's a difference between trying and then like actively participating and being aware of what's happening. Do you think that change has been something that has come into kind of the fold the past couple of months, and that will serve you guys better than most people expect?
Yeah, that's kind of like spot on. Yeah, it's like we were. It's not like we were never trying in scrims. Like we always try in scrim. Like I know people meme about like the 10 commandments for NRG and stuff, but it's like, we like sometimes we just have bad scrims. People get tilted and they'll just like, they'll still play, but they're not playing at their best, obviously. But it's
I'm
like
going off the ceiling when I'm tilted.
Yeah, no, and then there's teams like, I mean, I'm not trying to call out V1, but it's like Calm is like one of the people who's like, you scrim against him, and if you're not playing at 100 maximum percent,
Oh, he's going to Twitter.
There's a tweet.
Dude,
there's a tweet coming out.
I think during scrims he has on the second month.
Yeah,
Twitter
exactly.
Open.
He's got it drafted up. He's like, you use one ball, he presses enter.
He whiffed alt tab right to Twitter.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean that'll happen. It's just like, you know, we get to, like, we're losing. You guys are beating us a lot. It's hard to like sit there and be 100% locked in, ready to win every single second. But like we're getting better at that. But it's not like, you know, you can't sit there and just make, like, if you're, especially because these guys are younger, right? I mean, obviously they're getting a little bit older. Garrett and Squish are now over 21
Watch
and
your
stuff.
mouth, Sizz.
Listen, my bad. But like, you know, they're just
they're still kids.
Yeah. I mean, they still have the young mentality, and they need to have fun during practice. So
yeah,
it's like it's hard to sit there and be super serious 24/7. I mean, V1 or other teams are not sitting there hard, serious, calming everything. They're probably laughing in between the goals and just memeing about stuff. It's like that's how it has to be. Otherwise, you're going to lose your sanity. So it's good to have some relaxation in between the games.
Speaking of scrims, sorry, Karma. I did want to ask you, Sizz, if, you know, the environment of scrims and trying to, you know, work through new challenges, like as a team, it's more of a thought process. Have you guys expanded your scrim pool a little bit? Because I mean, I've been out of scrims for a long time, but I remember, you know, back in the day, you know, top teams really only other scrim top teams. Is that something that you've thought about, maybe, like, you know, trying to schedule teams farther outside, like, you know, the top 10, the top 16, just to get a feel for like what these new play styles are? Maybe you get like that one scrim with like a bubble team that's peaking, and it's just like, you know, something that could be different and eye-opening for the players.
Yeah. If a team is like on the come up, like usually we genuinely do stick to like top RLCS regionals teams only, because usually whoever's in the regional will scrim them. But like when a crew had that run and they became like good and everyone started like seeing them in regionals, we started scrimming them more. But like usually we don't branch out of that too much. Like what we try to do is just have one of each team possible during each week. So we have basically like 10 to like 15 different teams we're scrimming a week. But we're not really expanding out of the regional
change.
stuff.
Compared to when I was a player, that's a big change.
It's still a lot of variety, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like most
back
teams,
then
back then it was like 3 of you. It was
legit.
Cloud9, Energy, or Space Station, you're done. Don't even message me, bro.
Back in the day, it was like we would scrim NRG and Cloud9 like 3 times a week, like, because we were just like, oh, they're the top team, we need to stick with them only and keep improving off of them. So I feel like back then that was like the best strat, but now everyone is good and everyone has different ways they're playing. And, you know, like there's teams you play against, like teams that will just sit there and low 50 everything, keep the ball super like controlled, and they keep boost management and they bump, right? Yeah, and then exactly, and then there's teams like that are just like Furia, like super fast paced, like no time to react, and they're always keeping the pressure on, always keeping the ball in. And they're just making sure they have the midfield contest so that way they can keep the ball in. And then there's teams like BDS who are just gods at challenging and just don't give you any chance. Like BDS and GT I'd put in the same category, with BDS being a little bit like better at it. But like BDS is just like god challenging. They don't give you any time to like think about your next play. They're always just there, and they're keeping the ball in, kidding around you, and just forcing you into a bad position, and then they score off of it. It's just like every team has their own style, and every team is getting really good at them.
Piggybacking off of that, since you mentioned Furia, rumor is that they're coming to NA. Don't know if that's true or not. We're not gonna leak anything. But if they were to come to NA, where does that put them, do you think? Because for me, I put them number 1. No offense, Energy's number 1 fan. Disclaimer. I still put Furia right now at number 1. I don't see like how they cannot be there.
I honestly, I'd put them at like probably like second after G2. Because I still think G2 could beat them. Like I feel like G2's playstyle is good against that team. Like, I think Furia will roll kind of the rest of NA, especially like low key. I mean, this isn't any hit toward the new phase roster, but like, you know, they seem a little bit different playstyle, and I feel like Furia is really strong against their playstyle. So, I think they'll be top 2. Honestly, top 2 at least. top 3 probably at the most, but I for sure see them up there. And I think they'll probably destroy the most of NA except for top team. Like I think they'll struggle a little bit, especially online. It's different online versus offline. They're a LAN team. Like they are so comfortable on LAN. Like they don't look phased at all, no matter who they're playing. They're always like locked in, ready to win, even if they're down. So that's a really hard mentality to get, and they're good at it. So I think online, most teams probably have a better chance against them than on LAN.
Yeah, I'm curious if they're going to maintain that once they've had like a good split in NA, because we saw it with Complexity. They move over here, they have a bunch to prove, and they prove it, and then it was almost like, not like the motivation fell off, but they weren't under so much pressure where they felt like they needed to win. And it wasn't complacency, but it almost looked like complacency. And I really wonder if Furia will succumb to the same thing Complexity did, or if they're just going to come over to NA and just be dominant for multiple splits in a row.
Yeah,
I think they'll be better than Complexity at the least. Like the way that, I mean, Complexity came into NA and did good, but I think Furia will have a longer run than Complexity did.
I think Cole's problem was that they were coming in kind of untested and also transferring regions. So when the new playstyle came into NA, it was like, oh my god, what is going on? And then I feel like the longer they were around, the more people got used to it. And the more, like, not predictable, but the more accustomed people got to the playstyle.
Well, also
Furia,
remember,
I think, is a little different because they played internationally already.
Right.
They've won already internationally.
Right.
And now they're coming back in, you know what I mean?
That's the thing. Like, we also have to remember what happened to Complexity when they came in. It wasn't like they came in and won a regional and dominated. They played like it was like 2 weeks of playing top 6 NA teams back to back, and then played a tiebreaker against SSG, and they lost that to go to the major, and then they took a break because they were like, we just had to play against NA's top 6 at like basically every single day. And just to be here, and then once they didn't qualify for the major, they were probably burned out. Like, how could they not? So then they took a break, and then they unfortunately kept taking a break, and they kept going. And then we came back to winter, and we're like, Complexity, did you practice? They're like, no. I'm like, that was a mistake. So they had tough bracket, tough schedule, tough teams to play against, and then they just got burnt out by winter. And I just, I think Fury is just a better team, but also I don't know if Fury's going to be like, yeah, we saw a Complexity today, we're not going to do that. We're going to take it like seriously. And
Cole also had to do the off-season grind, right? Because they kicked my butt in like 2 finals in the off-season. I remember I was just playing for fun, and they came in. They were in every off-season tournament. When they were transferring, they didn't have that break. So I think it all caught up to them during that winter time, understandably, because it's like even though the off-season is chaotic, like from a viewing perspective on the outside, I also think it's like somewhat super necessary because of burnout, especially with the new format. The new format now, the old format of last season, with all the amount played is so much more than like 2 seasons ago, and it's crazy intense.
I remember we were looking at stats. Like I think like the individual players had more games in like the last season than like all the other RLCS seasons combined or something. It was like some crazy stat, because it was like
insane.
Like, well, especially the one before last season, we had like the grid going on too, and that added like another like 4 games, 4 series every week. It was so much effort for the players, and the grid felt worthless. Like it was such a bad idea, honestly, to do the grid, because it felt like teams were playing games for nothing. Yeah, it was so excess, and it had no value for those games. So thank God they took that out, because there was nothing like important about.
They did try with the playoff spot, kind of, but then it ended up being awkward. It was a good idea. It just was hard to implement.
Yeah, I think the grid was. I think the best idea for the grid would have been, because just from a broadcast perspective, Jesus, you would want viewers to have something to watch during the week, like between matches. So it should have been like a really fun Money 8s tournament. It should have been like a really fun, or like Money 6s. Should have been like a really fun way of like getting players to kind of play and like chill, but like cash on the line, build some cool stories, etc. It turned into like another week of RLCS, and it's because of the qualifiers and stuff. And I'm like, at the end of the year, we had like 1,680 best of 5s that we played in RLCS.
Yeah,
like that's
crazy.
Really?
That's insane. Yeah,
1,680.
I'm pretty sure we had over like 12 or 1,300 games.
That's more than I think I've ever
series,
played.
Excuse me. Yeah, it's insane.
Shout out to the 3 people that watched every game.
Yeah,
Congrats to you
holy,
guys.
y'all are different. So now with like, without leaking any roster moves or anything, Sizz, let's talk about the landscape of NA for a bit. With all the roster changes, can we like who looks the best with the roster change right now? In scrims, like, do you guys have a team that like you think, they're gonna pop off this year? They look real good, or is it more, less of a surprise? And maybe you guys are like, I'm glad we didn't make a roster move. Look at all these teams. We're doing way better than they are.
No,
So.
honestly, like, okay, I think SSG probably looks like they made the best move.
Rip
Like,
Rebels.
yeah, I mean, it's nothing against Reynolds. It's just like they brought in a really good player. So, but like, to be honest, I feel like aside from the teams that we've heard are coming to NA, if we exclude those, I feel like North America has gotten worse and Europe has gotten better with these roster changes.
That's
so I don't know.
Hot take. I like it.
Yeah, like it just like from watching scrims, like it just looks like everyone is like a lot slower, and that's like not really a good thing. I feel like for this current meta. But like Europe, as like the changes they've made, or I'm not sure what's public, so I'm not gonna say anything. But like the changes they've made, just seems like it's gonna benefit the whole region better than it will the changes in North America.
Yeah, Europe seems they've shaken everything up. They just went, okay, season's over. We're actually going to team with who we wanted to play with who we can play the fastest with all year. And it's like all these teams are like finally getting to play together. And I feel like it's kind of what you alluded to, like way back at the beginning of the show today, is a lot of NA teams I feel like know who they want to play with. It's just a matter of like the contracts need to align, the roster windows need to align, the season needs to align. It's like, why make a move when there's only like one person we would want, and it needs to work for both of us timing wise. So in NA there are all these like maybe potential dream teams, but the stars just never aligned for these to happen. And maybe this season for EU these stars have aligned, and they just said, okay, the contracts don't matter, whatever, we'll figure it out later, let's just play together. And Europe just kind of does that all the time. They just blow up rosters and make new ones. Yeah,
the Vatira change I was so surprised about. Like, that was the one change.
Me too.
I think that is a bad change.
Me too.
Agreed.
But like it was just so unexpected. Like everything else I kind of heard of before, and then that one came around. I was like, "There's no way this actually just happened." Because like they did good. Like they won a major, and then they did really good at other majors, and then they did really good at Worlds. Obviously, they didn't do as good as they wanted to, but. And then they just blow up the roster, and the French join together again. It's just like that always happens in the EU.
The French just
love playing together. It's I mean, I don't know what it is. It just has like
it's kind of adorable
national pride or something, but they just love it. And then they're just like willing to blow up a long-standing solid roster in order to do that. So I don't know.
I'm a boomer, I think, but I don't like the roster change all the time, and I didn't like it when I was a player. Like. If you looked at my career, I pretty much just stayed with people because I thought improving over time is better than just making a change. And maybe that's a detriment, but at the same time, like, I feel like NA in particular, all these roster changes hurt both the players and I think the scene.
Yeah, I mean, it happens a lot. Like, where you're not sure if you should make a roster move or not. It's just every team is always placed in that scenario at the end of a season, and everyone always has that lingering in their mind is like, okay, season's over, I might get kicked now or something. I might have to start looking for another roster. But like even people on our team thought they were getting kicked. It's just like, but like no one wanted to do it because we felt like there was no point. Like I don't think there's anyone that could really make the roster better. And then we're also throwing away our team environment, like I said before. So yeah.
Yeah, it's easier just to invest and trust in your teammates and build upon the foundation you already have than it is to like start from scratch with new players who probably have just as much potential as your current players with a little bit of investment.
Like, just, like, look at Vatira on Moist. You telling me they can't work out whatever caused them to lose Game 7?
That's mind-blowing to me.
I don't know.
Like, come on.
I mean, we don't know what happened, but there's no way it could have been that bad to the point where you need to leave the team and just, like, throw away the last year.
Like, I'm not directly quoting Vatira here, but it was something along the lines of, like, I didn't like that we had to go to Game 7 and Game 5 all the time, or he said something like that, like, we should be good enough to not have to get there.
Yeah, we should
And,
just
like,
dominate every
It'd be one
series
thing if you were
3-0.
losing all of them,
It's just
but you won all of
impossible
them.
to do that. Everyone has
Yeah.
to
I know,
accept that you're
everyone's
going to
so
lose
good
some
now.
games. It's
Yeah,
just like
they won all of them too. Like it'd be one thing if they were
Yeah.
getting smoked. They're not.
And it's also
I mean,
like the brands. They were building a huge reputation in the scene. Like everyone
Yeah.
liked Moist, the fans.
We can't say the chant anymore.
org.
The chant was so good.
Yeah.
It's gone.
And like
And they did the
Falcons-
impossible. They had the three
Yeah,
mechanic players all work together and have it end up good. Like that
Yeah.
hasn't. I feel like that
Yeah.
hasn't been done before in Rocket League. I mean, now you can say BDS have done it, right? But like other than Moist and BDS, I feel like all the mechanical players on one team has like struggled, and they
Yeah.
had the
But
key.
even BDS though, I wouldn't even say Extra's that mechanical. I think he's just like a genius. Like he's one of the best players in terms of like
Yeah.
always knowing where to position. He's so good at it.
That's true.
And he was, dude. I don't know if you guys saw that top 20 list that they made on stream. I forgot. I think it was Johnny and them made it.
Yeah.
I have no clue how Extra was scammed out of like anywhere below the top 7. Like it doesn't make. He was
he was
like
my
number
MVP.
13, number 15 on some of
They were-
these. I'm
dude,
like, what?
There were so
It's
many
because
lists
if you
like
can't
putting
flip reset,
Rise
you
out,
suck.
too.
Yeah, it
Everybody
doesn't
was
make
just
any
how it
sense.
is.
Everybody was putting, and the same thing earlier this season. Everybody was putting Rise at like number 16 or something out of 20. I'm like, are you guys okay?
Yeah,
The guy
no,
who's like,
all of the
who's
BDS
getting
roster
every
is top
clutch
10.
shot. Are you guys okay?
Yeah.
I don't get it. But
A lot of
That's it.
people
They-
just like
people
Flash.
see
That's
mechanics
what
and that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
interesting question.
Players like
actually.
Extra get looked over, and as a
Extra's
player like
insane.
Extra, that pisses me off.
Extra.
Yeah.
I mean, conversation of top 3, if not top 2 player in the world. Like with the way he plays and how solid he's been throughout all the tumultuous changes. But one question that I've wanted to ask you, a lot of the times, whether it's whatever region it is, sometimes you get kind of a story of a team that makes a run or they do something that just kind of pops off. There's always a team and a moment in an esports team, whatever game it is, where it's like, if we won this match, things would have been different this season. If they lose this match, things would have been way different. We've seen teams that have been like, if we lost this, we never would have gone on the run to win Worlds, etc. Was there a moment this season that you look back and you say, if we had won that, things would have been drastically different? Because there's always like one small like round in S&D or one bad goal that goes away, or like if that goes our way, we would have been completely different. Is there anything looking back that you're like, if that was that one small moment that nobody looks at?
There was a lot of moments like that. I feel like you always think about that, but like, I mean, I can't really remember the exact matches, but like we felt something like that at LA. I don't remember which match, but the most recent LAN at Dallas, we felt like the V1 match was that one, because the V1 match was 3 overtimes and then a 1-goal difference. If we won any of the overtimes, people would look at the series completely different and like not just count us out of the tournament.
Yeah.
But like, you know, we got our first matchup for a warmed up V1 who already played 5 series in the group stage on the stage that they were already comfortable with, and we go up and we play them, our worst matchup statistically, and then we get 4-0'd in 3 overtimes. So like, that if that people look at that and we're just like, yeah, Energy got absolutely rolled. But it's like, you know, even then, like I remember we'll go back to our room and we literally hear V1 saying like, I can't believe how close that series was, and then they were like, but it was a 4-0. But everyone else online just looking at it, it's like, oh, we got stomped. But it was every game was so close.
I feel like you guys play a lot of 1-goal games. It rips my heart.
Yeah,
in
which
half.
is bad.
Like,
It's so
like,
bad.
Dude, as a fan, I'm like, oh my god, I can't. It's like, and you guys also are counterattack, so, well, you were. So a lot of the time, it's like you're just on defense. I see Squishy with like 2 pads. Oh my god, what's he gonna do?
I know.
He barely gets to it. It's like, it's nerve-wracking to watch this.
Yeah, that was so much of it. It's like you're leaving like, usually it was Squishy who was left back, and then it's just like you're relying, like they're all mechanical gods, but like we were so aggressive on counterattacks, we would leave someone back, and then they would just be stuck to like have perfect defense. And if they don't absolutely you have a perfect defense, then they just get scored on. And it's so hard. Like in 1v2s, you can either get bumped, they could pass across, they could air dribble bump, one person can bump while they're air dribble bumping, so you have 2 bumps. It's just like there's so much that can happen. In a 1v2, it's impossible to do it nowadays, no matter how good you are. It's so hard.
Even 1-on-1's insanely hard. Like,
yeah, no,
the amount
I
of
don't know
stuff,
how people play ones.
Jan
bro.
looks like he's cheating when he's up on the ball coming
I know.
at you. It's like, what is going on? His car's moving left and right at the same time. The ball's over my head. It's like, it's insane.
Jan is insane, bro. He can like, he always knows perfectly how to like orient his car and score no matter the scenario. Like if he knows he's gonna get blocked, he'll like flip reset it up into a double tap instead of just flip resetting toward the goal. Like it's just crazy. These new age players are so good nowadays.
Yeah, and they approached it in a different way than we did. Like they came up learning all the stuff that's really good right now. And it's funny to watch because I don't know if you think this too, but it's like I feel like if an older player had the best mechanics, they'd have the best of both worlds and be like insane.
Yeah,
it would be
like
weird
they have the
for,
old style
the
and
old
the new
player
style.
to be the most mechanical player, you know? Like
it would be weird, yeah.
Someone who's like 23, 24 RLCS and they're the ones hitting double flip resets. Like I feel like I'd live in like an alternate reality or something.
Yeah, like the new younger players like didn't have to like adjust their style to the new one, like or they just came into the new style. So like these old players have to like. I mean, it's not like it's funny you're calling them old. They're like 22 years old, but
that's esports, you know.
Yeah, I know.
I didn't say that. I didn't say that for the record. and then you look at other esports like Val and CS. There's like 30-year-olds who are like the best in the game still. So it's just different types of esports. But yeah, Rocket League, it's like the new age kids. They all just their mechanics are just insane. Like I think it's because Rocket League's young.
Yeah, Falcons and Furia and Joyo and all these teams have individual players who are like basically freestylers in RLCS. Like they're just crazy though.
Yeah, pretty much. And it's just it's weird to see like how the game has evolved in terms of play styles and stuff like that. And like real quick, Sizz, I know you have to go. Before you go, you want to touch on the format for next year? It's kind of interesting with the opens in the beginning of the season. That terrifies me because I remember when I was a player that is one of the like it would take someone like, I'll use a crew as an example. They win one series, one upset, and it's like they're gonna win the entire thing that day.
Just to make sure, is the whole format announced? Like everything's public now?
Yeah, they announced the format.
Okay. Even the end. Okay, good. Okay, so like, yeah, this first regional, like the fact that like to qualify is like, so it's top 8 qualify, and then it's so stressful because if you just like lose like the first game, you're immediately in like because I think it's a Swiss format, so you're just like you're immediately stressed out because it's like anywhere in the bottom 8, if other teams just randomly do well and they're above you, you have to go through these other teams who are like been grinding and just want to make their way into the regional. So getting into that top 8 to the start of the season is going to be huge. Like
it's a lot of pressure.
Yes, so much pressure than other seasons because it's like you have most of NA is on the new rosters, right? And they're all on their honeymoon phase, so they might feel like really good for this regional. And then there's also the fact that there's these grinders who are going through the open qualifier that really want to make it and are like super motivated. So it's going to be really hard first regional.
You need to like start a snowball by getting into this first one and doing really well, because with the last regional of every split, it's like closed off now. Like the top 16 is like only the best teams will make it. There's no like more open.
In the third one you're talking about?
For the thirds. For the third regional in a split, yeah. So if you miss that chance to snowball, you could theoretically miss out on an entire regional if you're not careful.
Yeah, legit, yeah.
And if you miss the first, it affects the mental too. Like if you're a good team and you go into opens and you don't make it,
you get like 10th or something.
Your whole season could be chalked. Like just straight up, you're done. Because then you don't make the first one, then you maybe struggle in the second one because your seeding's bad. And then you barely make it in the third one, you get a bad seed, bang, you're off to like a terrible start.
It's so stressful. Like
open format is crazy.
This first regional is probably more important than any of them because if you make this one, then it just your confidence alone won't be chalked. Like if imagine like some of the it's not even just imagine the new rosters, any team that just like you go through it, you don't make it, and then you're just like immediately in a bad position for Worlds, then it's just like you just have this thing lingering in the back of your head that you're just not going to do well this whole season. So.
Yeah, the thing that you're playing from behind,
Yeah.
And they changed the points now. At least the points don't look so crazy. Like 5,000 points versus 4,000 points. I think the max they said is like 300 and something points. So it's like you might get like a 3 or 4 points for winning a regional. I don't know what the math is going to come out to.
Yeah.
But that'll be interesting. It'll look a bit closer, I think, points wise.
Yeah.
Any bubble teams you think Sizz could surprise people this year? I had my eye on like Flitz's team last year. See how they come back into the season. They made the last 3 regionals, I think.
Yeah.
All mid, and then they've been playing pretty good through the off season. Do you have anyone like to keep an eye on, or?
I mean, usually I'm not gonna lie. Usually, I don't even like. I'm not even usually paying attention to bubble team until like they're in regional.
That's understandable, though. Yeah.
Like usually, we're just looking at replays of any teams that are in the top 16. We're not like looking past that, but I mean, it could be. It's probably a good idea too, but.
Yeah, there's that tournament that's happening Wednesday and Thursday of
the
this
crew
week.
one.
Mm.
Oh wait,
yeah,
no, that's already happening. I think. No, it's not. Yeah, that's a crew. Yeah.
Yeah, because they're
I think
calling
it's
it
Wednesday, Thursday.
Yeah, it's like a Swiss into a single elim, and I believe it was for teams that it's only for teams that were making a roster move or something like that, or the focus is to highlight teams that made roster moves. So we'll get to see how these. Well, I think with some of them we'll actually get to see like what the rosters are. Like that'll be their debut games. But we'll get to see the strength, I guess, of some of these new rosters. So that'll be super exciting.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to watch them in a tournament because like all these teams, it's hard to tell how good a team is going to be in scrims because they're obviously they could be testing stuff, so they might not be at their best. But like just some observing stuff, it just seems like everyone's gotten a little bit slower. But it could maybe it could be we'll look at the tournaments and they'll be a little bit different. They'll be more motivated to play, more comms going through, so the rotations could be quicker and stuff. But
I worry for NA.
Yeah,
NA just seems like they don't
too.
get it. That's what it looks like. It just seems like NA does not get it. And then I look over at Europe and I see everything they're doing. I'm like, I have PTSD from early on. I'm like, oh my god, they get it. We are in trouble. And I'm like, here comes Jan. I'm like, Jan, please save us. Because it's like, with NA, it's always like, yeah, they're better at this, but they don't do this basic thing right. And I feel like that's like understanding timing and positioning a lot of the times, and not just throwing resets. Like, okay, my touch wasn't perfect, so why don't I just 50 this to my teammate instead, and I'll keep the pressure, and then I rotate out faster. No, I'm going for 3 flip resets and a bump, and if I don't get it, fuck it. At least I tried, you know what I mean? And it's just like, come on, NA, wake up. This is like, you can do so much better. Like, use your brain for half a second.
Yeah.
And now these French super teams are coming along.
Yeah, all the Frenchies are coming to dominate the world, bro. These guys are going crazy over there.
Just wait till they get to Quebec, and then they start playing in NA, and it's like, oh my god. Free money for the French teams that go to Quebec.
Oh, man. Hopefully not. Let's keep them out of NA.
It's scary, because I want NA to, like, be the dominant region, because it's never a dominant region in anything.
I don't want to become like the league scene. I really don't want to become like the
league
scene.
Oh my god, the league scene
because
I
love NA teams in league, but they get memed on so hard, and it's just you watch like SKT play, and then you watch like TSM play, and you're like, this is so different.
It's so bad, bro. League of Legends, I don't even watch it anymore. I only watch LPL and LEC, the European one. So LCS is chalked. It's so chalked. Like there's no one. There's like Bjergsen unretired. I watched for like one game, and then I was like, this gameplay looks terrible. So in every game, there's always that region that just becomes the minor region. So hopefully it doesn't happen to us in Rocket League.
With these changes, though, I feel like it's just trending that way. Some of the moves I see are just a question mark for me.
It's gonna be a fun season.
If Fury does come to NA, we'll get everyone's gonna want to book the Furious Scrim and download the strats.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
a hold boost and double flip reset whenever the ball comes to you. That's
the future.
That seems to be the strat. All right, Sizz. So you want to hop off and get some food in before you got?
Yeah. I'm probably gonna go. Get some food.
Yeah, we appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, for sure. Anytime. Good talking
Always
to you guys.
nice to talk to you.
Yeah.
Let's hang.
Hey, later, guys. Have a good night.
Bye, Sizz. Make sure to follow Sizz on Twitter, guys. Coach for NRG. I know you guys already know it. Yeah, he's got the nice. He's got the nice at.
Sizz checkmark at Sizz. Look at that.
Yeah, must be nice. See, he's got the NRG backing. It's easy for him. Me,
That's the
gotta add
general
that.
energy to
I
you,
need
Karma.
the clean hand.
Oh, the general, yeah. Actually, Kronovi, my mouse pad isn't the general energy mouse pad.
Wow,
Of
that's
course
some.
it is.
Yeah,
That's so
I'd like to
biased.
flex that, just in case you
We
guys
shouldn't
want to
have
see
let her
that.
open the show.
Yeah.
We should have known that.
They sent that to me personally. I just like to say that. Just,
Oh,
just
wow.
flex real quick.
Look
you
at that. Karma's in her element right now.
I love it.
Nothing we
mean-
could say about energy is going to phase her. She's like, no.
No,
They're
nothing.
winning.
No, I think that their strat, I love it. I love what I heard from Sizz. Everyone else sucks. We're staying the same. We're great. Fury is all right too.
I
We're
mean, it's
gonna be
bold
fine.
when you lose like 60 series in a row. I think it's fair. Just keep the team you have. That's true.
I mean,
I'm
we'll
just
see,
joking. I'm
right?
just joking.
We're gonna see.
I believe in him. I believe in the team.
Spaceman, you better hope that they don't make it, because if they make it, it's gonna be just
What? They're gonna
a
magic.
love
They're just gonna
fest.
start
I'm
winning
just gonna
games.
vomit.
I better
we're
hope they
gonna
just
vomit
don't,
energy
do 180
for
and
an
actually
entire
win.
show.
That'd be great. I am Kronovi and I come from Rogue. There's nothing you can say to us that's gonna hurt us. Okay?
Where's
No,
the
we've
strategy
really
though?
been through it all.
Yeah. There's nothing you can say to us, Karma. Like, it's
But
2v1.
there's strategy, there's adapting, there's teamwork, camaraderie.
Sure.
You don't believe in all that? You're just like,
I
you
100%
started
believe.
losing, you're
I'm
gonna
just saying.
lose.
No, listen. I'm just saying. Look, if Energy just start winning, and I genuinely hope they do, because I like the players, I like Sizz, I like the org. If Energy win, everybody wins, right? Put me up on the big box. If Energy wins, everybody wins. If Energy loses, like let's say if they were a first split, let's say like the fall split's not kind to them. It's gonna be the same conversation we've had. Like I'm not gonna sit here and be like, I told y'all. I'm just gonna be like, it's the same thing we've had for a full year. It's like there needs to be a change.
Yeah.
So it's basically a win-win. Like if they
Sure.
don't do well, they can find a change. If they do well, everybody's happy. I'm fine with that. I want them to succeed.
I think
mean,
Rocket
they're
League
gonna
needs energy.
Internationally, I don't know if they're gonna do that great, and that's no shade on the players, but like, come on, it's France.
Yeah, it's just shade on NA, really.
Yeah,
That's
it's
all.
just NA, dude. Like, and now you got. Can we real quick talk about Furia coming to NA and leaving their South American roots behind? Because I respect it. I understand why it happened, but it's sad because now you're losing
totally
a
sad.
massive staple in Sam.
True. That
Yeah.
would if that happens weaken the Sam region a bit. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's like.
But I did think the
Sam's-
same thing with Cole.
Yeah, but
You know, when Cole left, I was like, oh, that stinks for Sam.
it
And then
definitely sucked.
Jan was like,
Yeah,
out of the way, guys. Now that I have my
if Fury
running
wasn't as
platform-
dominant as they became, I think like looking back, Complexity had been bigger. But it was it's also org as well. Like Complexity was a North American org for a long time, and they picked up a roster in Sam. So I was like, okay, Complexity's coming back to kind of their roots. Furia is like the #1 South American team. They were trending #5 esports org at one point during like during like July. They were like the #5 team in the world behind like Fnatic and Liquid during like massive LCS stuff. Like Furia is a massive org. And it's
Yeah,
just them leaving is like, that is all South America had for a while. That was it, just Furia. So
South America, I feel like, has a major esports scene that people don't really
Huge.
know about.
Latin
and
America's massive.
And I remembered first hearing it through CSGO, which is weird because I didn't really watch CSGO, but I remember the Luminosity Breakout tournament. I don't know if you guys remember
Mhm.
that, the famous like jumping off shots by
Yep.
that Brazilian team. And since then, I have always noticed that Brazil has just, and I don't want to exclude the other South American countries because I'm very uneducated. Jamiko, if you're still here, feel free to call in, but the South American teams, I feel like, have just such a huge backing and a big fostering of esports there. And it's really nice to see players like Jan in particular, Card, Kaio.
Mhm.
Card and Kaio have been around forever.
Mhm.
And finally just put Brazil on the map in another esport, because it's the soccer fandom there is wild. Like,
Crazy.
I remember Neymar, all that stuff from Brazil when I was a kid, and I think if they can bring that same passion to esports, which
Mhm.
it seems like they are,
They do.
love it.
Every
Love
esport
it, love
they
it,
do.
love it. Get them more involved.
Fun
Which makes
fact.
me sad that Fury is leaving.
Yeah.
Because they were such a big heartbeat for the Rocket League scene amongst the South American crowd, I feel like.
At the
that it
same
was
time,
just-
I think they'll rebound. You know, there are
Yeah.
players in Sam like Lost and Sad and KV1 that put up incredible individual performances, I thought, at
Lost was
Worlds.
fantastic at Worlds.
Yeah, there's so much potential embedded in the SAM region for Rocket League. I think that even if they were to, they've lost complexity, if they lose Furia, someone else will step up to the plate. It's just, I think it's going to happen. I think whatever happened a few years ago, just something has built up the right way to play Rocket League in SAM, and the players that, are part of that new generation, even though they're in a minor region, that region has it figured out. So they're learning the right way. And it's only a matter of time as these players put more hours in that they become as good as the ones before them, like Furia. So we totally just see the next generation of players that are just the new Furia, and Furia were just, the new complexity or whatever. It can just keep happening.
Two things. Real quick, two things. Number one, I think the loss is more of the org representing NA now than representing South America. I think that's like the blunt of the loss. So like that's where the big I'm using L lightly here. The big L is really felt. It's just like we don't have Furia representing the massive region where it came from. Two, fun fact, when the original Xbox 360 shipped to Latin America, Mexico, South America, Brazil, etc., when they first shipped, they didn't get Halo. And Halo was obviously like king of North American esports for a long time. They got Gears of War. And so that's why when Latin American esports and South American esports started, that's why Gears of War was like the #1 game, because that's the first thing they got. And what we've quickly learned was not only were they obviously playing the game at a high level on very, very bad ping and like in their own communities, so when they got to an international stage, they were smoking people, but Latin America and South America became like two of the biggest representations in Gears of War esports by like year 5 or 6, because they threw everything they had into the game. So we're going to see more teams and organizations pop up in South America and Latin America because of how passionate they are about esports. It's always been there. It's basically what happened with Falcons. It's like, they've been practicing for years on like 100 billion ping. So when they get to land, it turns out they're really good. It's the same thing. It just sucks that it's Furia going to be the org that's leaving, but in their place, we're going to get players like Lost, and we're going to get teams like the Club. Like, there's going to be more that comes up. It's just right now it sucks because Furia was so big and so massive as an entity.
Yeah, I remember watching.
They'll be just fine. Latin America, South America's been just fine in esports for a while, so they'll be good. And Rainbow Six as well. They're massive.
KV1 looks really good too.
Yeah.
Drafinho, all these players I've seen just queuing ranked on 200 ping now, just are crazy. And I feel like Brazil. I mean, I when I say Brazil, I kind of mean South America, because I think Brazil has the largest influence. Again, I don't know if that's true or not, but it just seems like the soccer playstyle or European football playstyle, whatever you want to name it, has a factor in Rocket League. And I don't know if I'm making that up, but I just like to take regions with like really prominent football players and like good football strategies and kind of just like link that to Rocket League, because the French, I feel like French teams, French players, especially in football, European football, are just crazy talented. They're some of the best players in the world. And then you have the French players who play their own style in Rocket League, and it's the same thing. And then I look at Brazil, and I see, the Brazilian teams come out, and they have their own play style, and they're crazy talented at it. And I like the landscape that's forming, where you have different people from different areas around the world that have different play styles that you can kind of link to influences of culture and sports and stuff like that. And I think Brazil's onto the future of Rocket League. Yeah, I think their play style is the best play style to have.
Brazil?
If you can do it right. Yeah, Furious. Which is like, go. You don't give anyone time. You don't give anyone space. And then you recognize it when you have it and take advantage. And I think that because of how good people are getting at attacking, that it's almost like you have to be on attack more than the other team to win most of the time nowadays.
So if Europe has a play style and Sam has a play style that are both really good, so it might be a hard question on the spot, but what should NA's play style be if we actually want to start winning things?
Better.
Yeah, so like I think French is efficient, right? That's how I would describe their play style, is efficient. Furia, I would describe their play style as aggressive. And I feel like NA's play style is question mark. Like,
they try to do all of it,
flip reset?
Worse.
Is that their
roll
like
over
flip
and play
reset
dead
question mark? Yeah, like I feel like so G2 seem like they are very pass heavy. And they try and like tic-tac-toe up and down the field. Kind of like a combination, I feel like, of French playstyle and Brazilian playstyle.
They're definitely hyper aggressive. I think G2 are the most aggressive team in North America, and that's why they've been doing just so well.
I think that would be it.
And I think it's why Sizz said that, if he had to rate where Furia would be in NA, that G2 would, be an equal, if not better match for them. And I think historically G2 has a decent record against Furia, just because they are almost like mirrors of each other in a way.
Well, G2 has that weird thing, Cam, where I don't know if when you were on it, you played this way, but when I played against it, they have like almost fake follows. So like they have the person helping the guy get out of defense right next to him, and the guy going for the ball can choose whether or not to hit it. And when they don't hit it, the other guy's playing so close that they automatically will get the ball. And that allows them to either beat someone like a Furia who's like aggressive. You're not used to that type of follow. Where like G2 in particular plays really, really close.
They've always been very rebound heavy in NA. Well, I mean, some teams. It's not always that way. But like G2 specifically, even back to when Rizzo was on it in Season 7, like they've always excelled at rebounds. When you look at the way NRG's played lately with Squishy kind of... He's been running point a lot upfield and then playing off the backboard and looking for passes. You look at G2 Energy when SSG was kind of in their prime, when it was Sip, Ars, and Reddles at the end of RLCS X, like they were doing the EU passing upfield, but like they were grabbing rebound after rebound, and it was like Envy versus SSG. Like SSG was punishing them because of those rebounds. NA goes through phases. They do phases of every other region, but they do it a little bit worse, and then they try to combine it all near the end of the year, and they don't do anything with it.
Just came up with a theory in my head.
Yeah.
Is that NA's playstyle is physical. And I think that is bad. And the reason I think that's bad is because when the peeps came up through RLCS, they had success immediately by bumping and by being this bump-heavy, aggressive team. And I feel like NA saw that and was like, oh my god, we need to play that style. But now that you know that information, if you take that and you apply that to like what we know now, which is like bumping isn't as good as being mechanically skilled, right? So I feel like if you're a team that relies on getting bumps to open up space and stuff like that consistently like NA has done, you don't have that same type of approach to the ball when you're like coming at it from like a skill, like I'm just gonna get it by you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're not a threat on the bump if people can just move the ball around you. And like,
there's like
you might get a demo, but it's useless because the person's like, okay, I used all my boost to hit the ball. You're actually just refilling my tank and letting me reset. My teammates are just gonna move up.
Yeah, like the meme kind of is like, if you have no skill in rank, just bump and it'll work.
Yeah, I mean, right? I just bump all the time. Whenever I get like a cracked mechanical twos player on my team, I just go bump people and then
if you apply that to RLCS, right? You see what I'm saying? If you apply that to RLCS where you have a team that's focused on bumping in order to score, you're lowering your skill ceiling the longer that lasts.
What's that phrase? Is it like jack of all trades, master of none? Is that something to that effect?
That's what NA is, I think.
That I was gonna say, like NA likes to see they do that. They're like, oh, the bumping and being physical is the thing now. They do that, or when SSG was infield passing out of their behind and nobody knew how to stop it, that's when more teams started to do. That's why Moist was so crazy, is because like they were masters of all. And NA had just been. NA is always like, we're gonna get really good at one specific thing, but we're never gonna be able to put it all together. And that's why Moist was terrifying, was like they were good at every single thing that you had to be good at, and they were like the masters of it, and nobody could beat them until eventually.
That's why I don't understand their roster move. They were masters of everything, and they have a few bad results. There's ups and downs. They were going through a rough period.
Yeah.
But like the magic was there when the wins were there.
I think in that situation, I'm never gonna have the argument of like, I get it. When I made my tweet, and it, for me, blowing up is like 400 or 500 likes. It blew up, and I was like, I think this is one of the worst decisions ever. And I was being a little bit obtuse, but that's me. And I genuinely think that is that will go down as like one of the worst decisions for a roster move. And everybody was saying, how dare you say this? Because isn't the health and the safety and the well-being of the player supposed to go ahead of the team? I'm like, absolutely. That's not what the conversation is about, though. Like, I want Vitero to be happy, and I think that if he's making a decision to make him happy, that is a win at the end of the day, and good for him. But you can't tell me that this was a problem that was so unsolvable, whether it's the coach, the manager, the owner, the players themselves. There is no way the problem of this team was so unbelievably unmanageable that it forced a roster change. Because you're talking about, I still think Moist was like top 2 team in the world. Like they were better than everybody else and kept getting better.
Did they lose to
They could easily just win again.
Furia.
They lost last second to Furia.
It took a last second.
Oh, it took. It was the best series
last
in the
second goal
tournament.
from Furia in a game 7 where Moist played some of their worst Rocket League the entire year for Furia to beat them. Not that that's a negative on Furia, but like for Furia to win that series, Moist had to play bad, and it took a game 7 like miracle goal. And
game 6 was insane
like,
too. From
yeah,
Furia.
and I'm sitting here like, this team is arguably on pace to be one of the greatest rosters ever assembled. And it was one small thing. They're like, we can't do that. We're changing. I'm like, why?
Yeah.
Furia and Moist felt like a grand final. It was the only match out of, except maybe the KC BDS game as well. Those two felt like the closest matches on the whole like top 8 side of
Play
the
it
world
another
bracket.
50 times and it probably goes Moist's way. Like that series was unbelievable. But yeah,
It was the breaking
It
point,
is
I guess.
frustrating.
You know,
that roster change literally made me mad. I was physically upset.
Yeah,
the
I was
entire day.
thinking as soon as I saw
Fell to
the
his
tweet,
knees
I was
in a
like, "Oh,
Walmart.
Spaceman!" Yeah, exactly.
Dude, I was
Spaceman's
pissed.
on his knees right now.
I was so mad. I didn't go outside because I was gonna hurt someone. I was mad. So it's I just.
And they're bringing on Astral, right? That's the rumor.
That's the-
Astral
for Moist.
is
I have
joining.
no idea.
Yeah,
I actually
And-
don't.
and
I
Astral
thought it
was-
for a while, but-
Astral was playing with Rise yesterday, so I don't really think
Nice
that they're-
Joyo Astrals. It just doesn't sound the same. It just doesn't.
The question
I'm
is,
really
what's
interested to
the
see
upgrade?
Astral on that team.
Well, the question is like, is there? I don't think there's an upgrade.
Can you upgrade
But-
from Vatira though? Like, is that
Right,
possible?
You're not
right.
getting
Upgrade-
excellent mechanics because he started the year as a
Right,
as a
but if you're
mechanical demon.
Vatira and you think that way, then maybe that's why you made the change. Like, there's no upgrade from me. I can do whatever I want.
I'm not
'cause
talking about like
good enough.
Vatira's POV. I'm talking about like for Moist. What is the
Oh,
upgrade
from
now?
Moist's point of
Yeah,
view.
I'm saying like from Moist's
You
perspective.
can't upgrade from Vatira.
Exactly, because like Vatira started the year as a mechanical god. He was doing a lot of bounce pass. He was doing a lot of ground bounce passes to himself that other teams weren't doing, and he started off by like soloing teams upfield by himself, and then he became a defensive freak and was like the best defender in the world. Like Vatira got better as the year went on, and so when that happens, you're like, who do you get in his place? Because he does everything.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell are you gonna do?
Honestly, just pick a
This is just-
third that is the Vatira counter, because now you've got a player that you know is insane on a different team that you have to watch out for who could solo you know.
The reason Astral's interesting to me is because whenever Astral's on the team, I feel like he's the focus of the team. Get Astral the ball. Get Astral on the ball. Astral wants to be on the ball. And this is
Maybe,
like, I
but-
haven't heard this from any teams. But I feel like with Vatira, he was almost like, you know what, you guys, we're all going to take, like, we're just going to play the game. We're just going to slot in. And it wasn't really this,
They
I
each
have to
had
have
their
it more
turn.
than you have to have it more than me.
It was
Yeah.
like Vatira
And
and, then Joyo and then Rise and then Joyo and then like they all kind of had stretches of Rocket League where it's like this is the number one option right now.
That's what made Vatira good to me.
Yes.
Is that he was
So it made
able
the
to just
team
be
good.
like, he's like, okay, you go, and then I'll follow that. It's like, oh, I could follow
Can't
that, but
believe
you're
it.
going? All right, I'll just position for that.
I can't believe it.
I want to know if Astral can do that.
I think he can, because he left that play style behind to make, you know, KC what it ended up being near the end of the season. Noli and Itachi had their time to shine, and Astral wasn't on it 24/7, but when he was,
Yeah.
it definitely felt like he
Really?
should
I
be
thought
on
he
the
was
ball.
on it 24/7.
He was on it quite a bit, but I felt like he wasn't trying to do too much, which was always the problem with like these hyper mechanical fast players, is they do too much. And I never felt like Astral put himself in a position where he either needed to hit like the 1 in a million shot or he was just throwing away his possession. It was like very calculated stuff from him. And so I think he's shown that potential and could slot in fairly well. Maybe not as well as Vatira, but I think he's actually a very decent option for Moist.
Yeah, I think from Vatira's point of view, it's like, well, I think I'm probably one of the best players in the world, and I just want to be on a team that speaks my language. So,
Sure.
as much as I like you guys, I kind of just want to be on a team that...
I can't blame him for the decision, but I
talk
can
to.
absolutely talk about the results of it. Like,
No,
we
yeah,
can
no,
have
of course.
both. We can
I'm just
do
trying
both.
to, like...
Yeah, no,
I'm
and
trying to
I know
make
that's what you're
sense of
saying.
it in my head because
Yeah.
it doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, the problem I had was just everybody saying, like, we can't question this decision. I'm like, yes, we can. Like, good for him. I'm glad he's got a new team, but what the hell? Moist is not existing anymore? Like, that's the thing. It wasn't like this was this wasn't. I mean, if G2 made a change, it'd be like, oh my god. But also like, okay, if a top team, this was like, I think we all knew that the caliber of players on Moist could become the next dynasty of Rocket League. They are that good to be world champions, to be next. And it's just, that's what's so surprising. I'm like, you are so young. You have so much in front of you. You're clicking. You're doing all this stuff in your first real season. That's what's shocking. Is this was like, it felt like they were just starting to hit their stride. And
they hadn't peaked yet, and they were still so good.
Yeah.
It's like they were building up the last little segments of a really incredible foundation.
It'd be like if Furia did the same thing. Like if they had won a major and they did what they did at Worlds, and they're like, okay, we're done. Like, excuse me, what?
Yeah, just like the 3 pillars holding up this foundation, and one of them's just like, okay, well, I'm out. There's like a really tiny crack in the corner of this pillar, and I'm just not going to repair it. I'm just going to like move the whole pillar out of the way.
Grieve. We just want to grieve, okay? We don't want to get. I just want to grieve, and then I'll get over it. But I don't know. Europe's going to be terrifying.
Not to switch subject, but Dare mentioned in chat, he was like, "You guys, what do you think about Mina's playstyle?" And Mina is a good.
I think they're very controlled. I think is a great word for that. They're fast, but you know they want the ball close. They want the ball all the time. They're possession oriented.
They also like to 50 it a lot, and they're very good at it. They're so good at it that they like 50 it behind them on purpose to their teammate a lot. Like,
sure. Yep, and then that player will keep it close, flip reset, and then see who pre-jumped, who didn't. And that flip reset can sometimes be a pass to someone. It's crazy.
It seems like they go around controlling it and giving it to each other through challenges that eventually they just get to a spot where they either hit the mechanic or they put you in such a bad spot that they end up just scoring. It's really hard to play against. And I think Mina, the rumored change is, now I didn't know this, there are twins in the Middle East. You guys know this?
Yeah.
Like actual twins?
Yep. They both cracked Rocket League.
They both play Rocket League, and they're both insane. And they picked up Nupo, who I've been saying for the past, since the show started, is like on track with Zen to be the best player I've ever seen in my life. So you have 2 twins who, you know how twins are, guys. They're like,
they're different. I'm
telepathic. I
Esports
believe
twins
in
are
that
different.
crap. Yeah. And they're like, whenever I see twins both playing professionally or close to a professional level, it's terrifying. And they picked up NWPO, who is this absolutely insane. He looks like a robot when he plays the game. His movements are all perfect. He never really messes up. And then you combine that with twins and the Falcons, and you have Senzo's team still. And I just think Mina is going to be ridiculous.
The new young roster with the twins and Nupo, I think, has limitless potential. You just need to invest in a bit of support and foundation and patience. Just that team will inevitably gel and be insane. Like the trust just has to be there to just work through, getting used to playing together and playing against a lot of like international competition.
Yeah, and they have. I just said it, and then I read chat. I forget what I was gonna say.
Yeah, do we know who is going to be like coaching them?
Oh, I was going to talk about Inzivik. I think Inzivik is talking about picking up a new team, so I'm hoping it's the Twins team.
A new org? The return of Sandrock Gaming?
Yeah, I think so. Inzivik is he's a community figure that I think flies under the radar a lot to the public, who is just very, very instrumental in even the Middle Eastern region being a region right now. Him and I think Johnny Boy as well. A lot of credit goes to them for fostering the scene for a long time. And, Psyonix getting there just in time to implement it, like almost seemingly the perfect time, where the Middle East had like reached RLCS level, like really good RLCS level, like just this past year. It could be because of, all of Psyonix's implementations, but man, Middle Eastern region, it looks scary. As far as coaching, sorry, Cam, I just wanted to say that before I forgot. Coaching, I have no idea. Have you guys heard anything? Coaching for Middle East?
Have just, because the NA roster lock is so soon, I have just been super focused on paying attention to announcements for that. Like I think today I saw a thing about I think Shopify fully. I think Shift either tweeted something or Shopify signed up for something. It's Memory Part 2-piece.
2-piece.
I think. Yeah, I think 2-piece is there. Who did they have before? Was Jordan on that roster before him?
So minus Jordan plus 2-piece.
Because Rapid went to XSET the season before that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so...
An XSET of Evo, so they're not picking up anyone.
Yeah, so I've been paying attention to just like all the stuff that's going to come out, because this week is like the final week for teams to announce things.
Yeah.
And then once roster lock happens, it's all public on like signups pages and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
next week is tier list week for us.
yes, well, at least for NA, because E's roster lock is October 3rd. So they
can't
get a
wait
bit
to
Oh,
more
that'll
time.
be a
2
little
weeks.
after.
That's
I
insane.
Say
know,
that again?
it's coming up
That's
fast.
insane. The season's in 2 weeks.
2 weeks? Really?
Yeah. First week of October.
Oh my god, you're right.
Yeah, I know. It's terrifying.
We'll finally get to do our post.
That is very terrifying.
Off the post, we'll finally have the reason it's got the word post in it. Our post game show will actually be after an RLCS game, finally.
Yeah, guys, everyone watching, I don't know if you know, but this show is originally designed as a post-game show for after RLCS.
This is where we talk mad shit about everybody.
Yeah, and we just, we call everyone garbage. Because we're the best. But also, like, we've switched it for the off-season just to be a podcast-style format. But once the RLCS rolls around, you're going to see us after Rocket League be on here, chatting it up about what we just watched. You guys, also, you can call into the show as well, chat, if you're interested. Join our Discord and join the on-air waiting room. It's just audio. You don't have to have video. You can come on, ask us a question, and then we'll move you out, talk about your question. Feel free to do that as well. But switching back to NA, do you guys think that Rocket League needs NRG? I said it earlier, but I think it's an interesting question. Because I feel like NRG is, the roster is something that you don't really see much anymore. I mean, Reddles is kind of doing it now, where he's uploading consistently and building a brand for himself. But I feel like specifically Europe, other than apparently Jack, it just seems like this era of content creation being important is kind of gone. And now, like, just being a player is actually a thing. Which I don't know if is a good thing or not, because I don't know if these players quite realize that most careers last, like, less than a year. When you finally make it, if you even get one. So I think, like, building other opportunities for yourself, if you're a player watching this, is a really good thing to do. But yeah, does Rocket League need NRG? Do you guys think that they need them to be good again?
Maybe not necessarily good. I think the term relevant is probably better. I definitely think that the Rocket League scene and a lot of fans need Garrett, Justin, and Squishy to stay relevant and stay in the spotlight, because Garrett, Squishy, Justin could all just move to a different org, and a bunch of people who have NRG jerseys are just going to go buy the jersey for the other team, like, because they're fans of the players, maybe not necessarily of NRG.
You looking at me, Cam, when you're talking about that?
Yeah, you're just going to go buy a different jersey. You're just that mouse
Are you
pad is
calling
going
me
in the
fair
trash.
weathered? Are you calling me fair weathered?
Wow.
Bandwagon fan. But I honestly think that that's most people, that they're just fans of the players in Rocket League, especially players that have been around a long time. And even though, everyone on NRG is younger, they've been playing a super long time because they started right when they were 15. So they've been in the scene. They're household names. And I think, imagine if you weren't to see an NRG at any of the regionals, they just weren't on broadcast at all. There would be so many question marks, like, where's my favorite team? Tens of, maybe even 100,000 people will be like, where's NRG? And people are expecting to see them, and they are entertained by them. And I mean, Garrett and Squishy put out a decent amount of content on top of that. So I think the scene definitely needs them, and them winning only helps that. Yeah.
I think that Rocket League's in its early stages enough to, if NRG exited in whatever fashion that is, it wouldn't hurt. It probably wouldn't hurt the scene overall too much, but I think Karma has a point to where I push players to make content. Not all of them are going to make it, that's fine, but I push players to make content because content is what's going to keep your career going a lot of the times, and I push talent to push each other to make content because we understand how crazy it can be. But at the end of the day, like, there has been a shift where player priority has become much more about player priority, and they can now afford to sustain themselves with the salaries they make. So with that, they don't have to force streams and YouTube content out, which means they can just focus on being a player, and that's where North America kind of strides, really. I mean, look at First Killer.
Yeah.
Makes no content.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
it's common in Europe too. Sorry, Karma.
Yeah,
Like,
no,
no,
but
no,
100%
tons
right.
of European
100%.
players just don't make
Yeah,
content.
outside of Red Elves and AppJack, and like I'll give Arsenal because Arsenal streams a lot, and there's also like there's a ton of Rocket League streamers who stream, but Rocket League is also a very limiting game. Like you can't really do a whole lot in pubs other than what you already do it professionally. Like other games, you can create ideas around the content,
Yeah.
but like Rocket League's just very one note, and that's okay. It's limiting.
Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like NRG is kind of like America's team. And they were America's team because they like why am I saying like so much? They just always were in it, and no North American team other than them was kind of ever in it. Cam's team with G2 was probably like one of the last ones that was kind of close. And then, you had NRG have their, like, somewhat dynasty for a while until current G2 has come along with Atomic. I think current G2, obviously, is kind of changing that narrative. But with NA, because I think Rocket League is North America's game. It's becoming slowly more and more North America's game. And it just worries me that...
viewership-wise?
Just like esport wise, I think League of Legends is Asia's game and Europeans' game. They're both dominant. I think CS:GO is Europeans' game mostly. Valorant seems to be heading more towards an international level. I mean, Optic just came in second, so they're obviously right up there. Optic's doing fantastic. What are some other major esports? But anyway, my point is that. Among major esports, North America isn't really anyone's savior. And with North America having the biggest market and Rocket League having a young audience, I think that Rocket League could push to be NA's esport. It just makes me worry that all these other teams it's kind of going the way of other esports, where it's just like all these other teams internationally are starting to get... I feel like there's a space being put in, where there's a gap in success.
Definitely there is a gap in
me.
success. I mean, there are less NA world champions and world finalists than other regions, Like historically, Europe just has more medals. Europe has had the only dynasty in Rocket League as well. I would say right now, it is Europe's game. I mean, BDS are the current champions, so they're the ones getting to hold it over everyone's head. But I think Europe has been ahead results-wise for a long time. And
results-wise, but I more meant like Rocket League viewership-wise is NA's game.
Yeah, then North America
so
puts out
NA should
more
up,
content than any other region. Like the North American pros that do content and a lot of North American content creators as well, at least that do focus on the esport. I think NA is far and ahead as far as viewership, content, individuals that are generating like popularity or hype for the scene. There's just way more of that in North America.
Yeah, basically what I'm trying to say is I think it would be very beneficial for North America to have a team that is constantly around number 1 or 2, like Furia. And I realize that it stinks because I totally agree with the point, Furia needs to stay in SAM because SAM is really important to have a region be fostered. I agree. But I think it's also really important to have North America, your number 1 viewership, region, have a top team.
Yeah,
and
every region needs its beacon,
Yeah, I'm just concerned with the way that things are changing. And it's kind of a new concern, because I'm basing it a lot off of what Sizz said, where it's like teams are slower now, and it doesn't seem like it's, the changes
it was a bit of
are
an
working
omen,
out.
wasn't it?
Yeah, now I'm all scared. I'm a little terrified.
That was why I brought up that, in a game like League of Legends, it's probably one of the other esports I watch just as heavily as Rocket League, is that...
Really? I didn't know that.
I watch every region's games, except LPL. Sizz only watches LPL. That's like the only one I don't watch. I watch LCK, LEC, and LCS. But NA are the meme region.
Damn, bro, you're fucking... I mean...
and NA are just the meme region. It's sad because as popularity and how much enjoyment I get out of watching the individuals on the NA scene, I get more enjoyment even though they're never like going to be the favorites to lift the trophy. I get way more
Just
bored
watching
watching
NA?
other
Yeah.
regions, but I love watching NA, and
Yeah.
it's just more entertaining. And so I would love Rocket League, North America's Rocket League scene, to be entertaining, but also like they are the favorite to win, or
Yeah.
they will win, or they do win. You know, like being the most popular and the best is just, I mean, that's everybody's dream. Everybody would like that. Only
And that was
one team
NRG,
gets
right?
to do that. I mean,
Yeah.
that was why it was so crazy when they won Worlds in season 8? When they won, I mean, I'm pretty sure there was like shockwaves around the world. Like everybody felt it. Like, oh my God, NA's favorite team also won an international like world championship. And I think it catapulted their popularity further than it already was. Same thing happened to Cloud9. You know, Squishy had been doing content for a long time, and Cloud9 had existed for a while, but they hadn't really taken anything home. They'd just been like top 4 at every event.
Mhm.
And when they won season 6, it was like suddenly like Squishy Gimmick Torment were just
That was
thrust
the
into the
best.
faces of everybody. It was like you couldn't go
Yeah.
2 seconds without like hearing somebody talk about them, because
Yeah, they were like heroes.
yeah, exactly. They were literally heroes of the region, and it requires like lifting that trophy. Like if G2 had beaten BDS in the final, we would be talking the same thing about, you know,
Really?
G2 this, G2 that. I think they would have gotten
I wonder
so
if
much
we would.
recognition for winning, because I mean that's what matters to so many people. If you don't win, you just kind of get forgotten. Like you have to win.
Yeah, I feel bad for Europe in a way, in that sense, because I feel like when BDS win, they kind of don't get the same reaction as
I think
like
that's
when
just where we
Cloud9
were. We
win,
were
you
in
know?
Texas, like BDS win, and the whole crowd's just like,
Ah, the
Ooh.
French,
Yeah.
man.
everyone's
I
leaving.
felt bad
like,
because-
it's 3-0 up and people are leaving the stadium. You know, it's like
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why. There's some part about me that feels for, and it feels stupid saying feels bad, but for Monkey Moon and Psycho, where you know they're an extra too, where they worked real hard, just as hard as everyone else. They're insanely talented. They're some of the best players in the world, if not the best.
hmm
And they go and win the title, and their reaction is kind of like, not them
Yeah, but
again,
you have to
man."
remember that we're seeing it from. And this is not us. This is not me. I'm not trying to sound pretentious. We are seeing it from our perspective. Like we are very different than the masses. Like we are involved with the esport basically every single day. We're talent. We're ex players, world champions, etc. Like we have a very different perspective. Like we see these players as like the journey they've taken, whereas the average fan is going to see it as like my favorite team G2 just lost 4-0 or whatever.
Yeah.
Like it's just. It's NA, it's G2. They're going against BDS. Like I don't think anybody a lot of us are rooting for BDS because we knew the stories and we followed the legacy of the players. But also everybody who's not doing that as aggressively is like, oh, BDS, like the team that wins everything in Europe. Like, okay, I kind of hope they lose. Like, it's just different. We're seeing the game differently because of the way we're trained. Whereas the average fan is just kind of like, I want G2 to win because Pog. Like it's just.
there are also
know?
plenty
Yeah.
of BDS fans in
Yeah.
Europe. I mean, even in NA. I mean,
It
there
didn't
were
sound
probably
quiet. I heard people
Yeah.
cheering. I'm like,
Yeah,
people were acting
tons
like
of
everybody
people-
was dead silent.
Well, it's more social media reaction.
Yeah.
Like
Exactly.
I feel like Monkey Moon has also just like talked about social media and be like, you know what, I'm just not gonna go on here anymore because you guys are awful. Like I'm just gonna go away for a bit because no matter what I say, I get heckled, and it's
Well,
just
yeah,
kind of
and-
like
I just
it's
wonder
just-
what
because I don't think
paints-
Garrett would get heckled.
No,
You know
yeah.
what I mean?
What paints a top team or a top player as a villain versus like underdog hero, right? Like where is
Yeah.
that? How is that determined? Because there are definitely times where
If you're
Like,
from
in the
North
day-
America or not, that's
yeah,
like the
the
determination.
Dignitas dynasty, it's like, oh, they're the villains. They keep winning everything. At some point, like we have to,
It's
you
all
know,
perspective.
root against them.
It is all situational because Moist were the underdog heroes, and I don't think anybody ever saw them as the villains. Like it's all perspective. Greatest example I can give, like when Aches was kicking Optic's teeth in, Aches was the villain, and like he leaned to that vocally. Like same thing Com does. Like you lean into the villain role. Like if you're gonna be the villain, you have to kind of act it. You have to be vocal about it. When you beat a team that people are rooting against you, and you like stand out and be like, yeah, you thought we lose, well, you're active, you're rolling into it. But if V1's playing BDS and it's a North American crowd, all of a sudden V1 are the favorites, and everyone's like, we hope that V1 wins. It's perspective, because then it's like he's no longer the villain, now he's the underdog against BDS, and if he wins, we love him. It just depends on the situation.
Yeah, in London, V1 were the villains. They were literally getting booed.
Exactly. It's just the situation, because he's a villain 15 minutes ago, but now you're begging for him to be BDS. Like,
yeah, I guess fandom is just weird sometimes.
It's weird. We're human beings are weird. We're really strange.
They are.
Yeah.
They are. Not to switch gears here, but I did want to talk about the Rizzo LAN. Did you guys catch that this week?
Yes.
I thought it was really well done.
I saw some crazy highlights from the 1v1s, and a name that I've only seen in recent show matches. For me, this person was not on my radar and just came out of nowhere, but the Zapatos, the Zap himself, in a Sentio of all things, just absolutely dumpstering people. I don't know where he came from, but he has absolutely made his mark already. He's made a massive splash at that event.
Yeah, he was in my twos games heading into the event, and just the stuff that he did on the ball, I remember thinking like, oh, I'm excited to see him play in this, because he does like some weird stuff. I think he went for like 3 musty flicks in a row on me from like midfield in a twos game, and I was like, okay, this guy. Isn't this the guy that just made the LAN? I think he's gonna, make it through. And then when he made it, you go in there and I think they showed him in free play for a bit. And it was just interesting. He just looks like a freestyler, who is very good at 1v1s. And I feel like that's creeping more and more into the scene. But I thought that
hyper mechanical players.
Yeah, these hyper mechanical players that have better decision making than a freestyler or positioner, whatever it is.
Even though they've been in free training for like 3,000 hours, they somehow like make the right move on the ball.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Joyo, I think, is a good example of that. Zapdos is a good example of that. I think Justin, to some degree, when he first came in, was kind of like an example of that. Because what he could do on the ball at that time was like unprecedented.
Yeah, I mean, at a certain point, you don't have to even care about what other people are doing on the pitch. Just make sure you have boost, and when the ball comes to you, like, let your hands take over. You don't have to overthink anything. You just move.
Yeah, it's second nature.
It's kind of become more simple in a way, which is hard for my brain to understand. That the game got simpler as it evolved.
Yeah,
but also different. There. Yeah. And I also thought Rizzo James Bot Fear. I think Dazrin was also there. Did a great job at just like the atmosphere. I really liked the setup they had. They did player cams like RLCS did. They had that outside camera, and they were like really nice cameras as well. It wasn't like just a webcam thrown on there. And it was kind of like, you guys know that like relaxed format where it's kind of memey. Like at one point they were doing like the sounds of the cars because they didn't have audio, so they were like on mic just like boost noises and stuff.
Yeah.
I just thought that just the way they ran that event was really cool, and I just want to hear you guys' thoughts on that, and also just 1v1 tournaments, because I feel like that's the thing. 1v1 is going to start to become big this year, I think, for Rocket League. That seems like the trend. It's always been kind of waiting for it to catch up, I feel like, with everybody, and now that it's been mainstream for a while and Sonic seem to be giving it a platform, I feel like, okay, here it comes. It might not be directly RLCS related, but I feel like community-wise, it's going to become a thing.
Well, after the RLCS games, they had those 1v1 show matches. So I agree with you there. They're trying to put 1v1 in front of people more, but I don't really know how they would do it without interrupting like certain players' schedules, or it's hard when the league format is 3v3 unless they want to run like separate tournaments, like RLCS 1v1 specific stuff. I don't know. I think they'll probably do about as much as they did. Like Psyonix will do about as much as what they did last year, and it's really going to be up to everyone else in the community and other tournament organizers to put on 1v1 tournaments. But they've definitely shown that there is demand for 1v1 content. People want to see the top players play 1v1. It's just a matter of actually putting the tournament on, but I think Psyonix will not really do a whole lot more than what they've done like last season, to be honest.
And I don't want to spoil anything, but spoiler alert, if you guys haven't watched thing, mute me for a second. But I want to talk about the winner, so mute now if you don't. But Lion Blaze ended up winning the event. And he's a player that I find really interesting because he has been at the top of the 1v1 scene for such a long time, I feel like, in North America.
Mm-hmm.
And it just feels like if he's playing it or not. And now with the free agency coming around, I haven't heard his name be thrown about too much. I know that he's a free agent. He was on our tier list for free agent tier lists. What do you guys think about Lion Blaze? Because to me, he has the potential to just climb up there, but it just seems like he hasn't yet. And I think 1v1 is such an important factor in determining. Like if you go in and you win a 1v1 tournament and you beat AJ twice, obviously,
Yeah, I don't know how he always beats AJ.
You're doing something right.
He's like AJ's
right?
kryptonite, I swear.
His defending is incredible. Like, it's so weird. I'm like, oh my god, he's just letting him shoot from right there. Oh, he saved it. Oh, he didn't just save it. He's pre-flipping off the back of the net towards his net already. It's just like, it's insane. And I just feel like, what top NA teams wouldn't want a player like that? Like, if you were to put him on, like, why would he be bad on FaZe, right? Like, what about Lion Blaze would not work for a top team? Because I feel like I don't hear his name being thrown around like he should be.
I think that's honestly a great question because, statistically, like it makes sense. But he's just like a different type of player. He's not that offensive mechanical powerhouse, right? It's almost like he's that solid, consistent rock to your team that it's almost like he's like in Torment's camp more than he's in like First Killer's camp.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And that just creates this massive demand problem where there's so much more demand for the First Killer type players than there are the Torment type players. And he just hasn't been given that really big opportunity to shine. I think it's only a matter of time before he gets that opportunity.
Yeah,
because he definitely would slot in anywhere, I think, to make a team good. But I think teams just aren't looking for players that can like keep them safe and feel secure. They want players that are gonna like absolutely be offensively peaking. And Lion Blaze is just a hyper consistent, solid player with very good mechanics as well. But I think it just prevents him from shining as brightly as maybe some of the other people around him.
Yeah, and the last time that we really saw him, Ghost Gaming, right? So
yeah, he's on Ghost.
I think that
currently,
I think it's one. I mean that team. I'm gonna be blunt. Good players on the team, bad team, not good. That team was not good, and they played really, 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 really shaky Rocket League. And Lion Blaze didn't have like a fantastic season with that squad, but I don't think that he's had the opportunity yet to show what he can do in a threes format. And when he did play in a threes format, he played on such a weak bridge that when it collapsed, I think that negatively not affected him, but affected the perception of him, because they were like, "Oh, that Ghost Gaming team was terrible, and Lion Blaze is on it, and we shouldn't give him a chance." I think he deserves a chance. There's no question, and I think that his ones play is enough of a marketability to him to get him somewhere. But we need to see more, because Kronovi is right. He's not a first killer. Like he looks like it when he plays ones, but he's not. He is very different in a threes format, but he needs more experience in threes with better teams to figure out exactly what he can do and what he can't do. And the problem is just that his last time he was on a threes team, it was atrocious. So I think that he is unfortunately a victim of the Ghost Gaming squad that he was on, but I'm shocked that he's not on a at least a top 8 team. I think that he would at least be good enough to be on a top 8. I'm surprised Oxygen isn't reaching out, but I don't know. I hope he gets a shot for sure. But it's not like it's not like it's a gem. It's like First Killer. How is he not on a team? Like he's a little bit different, but also Ghost Gaming did not help his stock, unfortunately. And it's not his fault. It's just esports.
I do think it's also play style. Because I feel like he's very grounded. Like I put on Twitter yesterday, is he French? Because he purposely like wouldn't aerial, I felt like. And I think he made it a point. He was like, okay, AJ, I don't care if you aerial all the time because I'm just going to stay down here and save it. And, like, you're not going to be able to get by me. And that is essentially how he won. He was like, okay, you do whatever. I'm going to save it, and then I'm going to counter you with my dribbles. And he just constantly saved AJ shots on, like, 2 pads, 1 pad, over and over and over. And eventually just dominated it enough to the point where AJ couldn't score, and Lion Blaze just ended up winning because AJ would overcommit. And it's funny because I think that entire 1v1 series is NA's problem. In a nutshell. You have players like AJ who go up into the air 24/7, and the ground game has been somewhat forgotten about because there's such a priority on aerial stuff. And it makes me wonder, like, if that's part of Lion Blaze's stock problem is that he focuses, I feel like, on things that aren't flashy.
And he's in the wrong region. He needs to move to EU, and suddenly everyone's like, "Oh my God, Lion Blaze is the best player in NA." You know?
Yeah, and I think that, like, I don't want to bridge this into another "is NA in trouble" conversation, but it just seems like that the ground game and that type of fundamental has been lost in NA, and it's something that the French players in particular hyper prioritize. And I feel like if the French are hyper prioritizing something, they kind of have an idea of, like, what should be important. And it just surprises me that Lion Blaze isn't on a top 16, or that there isn't more hype around him just winning, a 1v1 LAN. That I just feel like he's a really good player and he's not talked about enough. And he did great at the Rizzo LAN. Absolutely fantastic.
He was great. We have until Friday, though. We have until the 23rd before all the NA rosters are final. So we won't have to wait too long before we find out where everybody's landed.
Yeah, it'll be an exciting show next week because I want to do the tier lists for NA and get the teams on there, talk about who we think
I'm going to roast everyone's tier list. I just know it.
I'm going to roast all the teams. I'm not going to lie. When
Put
these
them all in
moves
F
come
tier.
out, yeah, I mean, it'll be very interesting when all the stuff comes out because it's hard for me to talk about now. I'm sure for you guys too because I don't want to leak anything, but the roster moves are pretty much known throughout the scene. Everything's pretty much set with roster lock being so close. So it'll be a great stream next week. But yeah, do you guys have any final thoughts here as we wrap up our conversation for today?
I don't have too much other than, I was really glad that we got Sizz on to talk about energy, and I really just liked the confidence in his answers. It's very clear that energy, I think the direction for energy is super clear, and I think it does provide a lot of hope, but I mean, Spaceman will hit the retweet on this. I still need to see a win. I need to see them win a regional before, like, my faith is 100% completely restored. I have hope, but I don't have faith.
Really? Oh, I have faith. Full faith.
They're different, They
are.
I'm a little bit I'm a little bit flipped with you. I have faith because going in, I don't think the questions I asked him were brutal, but it was more of just like, hey, you guys didn't look good. What is the change? Because there has to be something so tangible or something so important that was worth changing for this team to stick together. And I liked what he said about, they wanted to, in terms of the environment, they wanted to be much more vocal, much more aware of what they're doing, and it seemed that the players are taking responsibility of that. That's great. I think that's an appropriate answer, and that's an appropriate response as a team, and that gives me faith that they're on the right track, but I will have hope when I see them win. And until I see that happen, that's like not a negative, just saying I think they're on the right track. This is the best case scenario for a team that looked terrible much of last year, and for a team that's so good, this is the best case scenario. The coach and the players are on the same page. They're actively listening to each other and contributing. Having a team that goes through that kind of shit and is aware of it and starts taking note and being responsible, that's going to help them in the long run. But all that's great. We'll see what happens week 1. I hope that they turn it around because I want energy to do well and be a North American powerhouse. So we'll see.
Yeah, I agree. North America just makes me nervous.
It's going to be a fun year for NA and Reddit. It's going to be a phenomenal
I'm sorry,
year
I meant
NA
open
Reddit.
quals. I didn't mean North America. I meant open quals.
But still, I the Reddit this year is going to be insanely funny to read. I can't wait.
No, NA's going to be... NA has so many moves. I do think Europe wins in terms of rosters.
Yeah. Yeah.
which we'll talk about.
They're gonna
but
win Worlds again next year.
Yeah, I think
Ooh.
the
I know that's bold. But
the open part of the qualifier terrifies me, specifically for NRG, because I think NRG are so much. Well,
I think they'll be okay.
They used to be so dominant against teams outside the top 8.
Sure.
Like when I played, it was like you play NRG, you're cooked. Like you're probably.
I think they're going to be just fine in the open
In the
quals,
past-
but they will struggle in the normal.
The past few, they've dropped to teams outside of top 12. I think.
Yeah,
I think
but
they lost to
They also played their worst Rocket League ever, like
Yeah.
last year. So I'm
I'm just hoping that doesn't continue because it cannot happen on the open qual. That's if
Right.
Energy make it through open quals, huge.
If they do bad
relief,
the first split,
huge.
we will see a change. I would put my my very small 401k on it that we'll see a change if they lose the first split. Like they're going to make a change. So they basically have like one regional on it or it's bust.
One regional.
We'll
Yeah.
see, because they
Sizz
sounded
I think they
like,
have a split.
they
A full
they
split
value
at
their
least.
foundation that they have quite
Yeah, that's
a
what
bit.
I mean. Like, sorry, that's what I meant. Like, I think of
mean a
regionals back when
split?
they used to exist of like a period of time, not regional every weekend. So yeah, I meant like
Okay.
a whole split, as in regionals.
Okay.
They have that split to figure it
Interesting.
out. Yeah.
Yeah, that's. I kind of want to say 2, but I don't know what the difference anymore is between 1 and 2. Because if you don't do good in 1 this year, you're probably not going to do good.
It better be a whole lot. It better be a whole lot of good excuses because if you don't do good in one, it's
Yeah.
like, oh, we missed it by this much. I'm like,
I was
"Oh,
lagging, guys.
I think with the
let's just
format, you
run
guys
back
are
the
right.
regional.
Now that I'm thinking about it, because if the format is very conducive to snowballing, and you don't do very well in the first one, then you kind of are forced into a change for the second one because you need to make up for the fact that you didn't do good in the first one if you even want to have a
Yeah.
shot.
Even not even
You
looking
can't
at
wait
that.
anymore.
Not even just looking at the snowballs. It's just eyeball test. If they don't look like they've made improvements, then okay, that's it. You know, it's like, oh, it's the same.
For a
NRG,
fan's
just different
perspective
year.
or from a player's perspective, though? Like, do you think that they'll go into the split, not do well, and be like, yeah, it's shocked, we tried? Or do
No,
you
I
think
don't think
it'll be
they'll
like,
say that, but I think I will say that. I'll be like,
Oh,
if
yeah,
like
okay.
just looking at how they played last year near the end of the year, if they look like the exact same team gameplay wise, where like the indecisiveness, just the slow pace and nothing's working, if they look like that again, and we're 2-3 weeks into the split, and that doesn't change, I'm gonna be like, then this is not working. It's time to make a change. Because
But what if they look like they're trying to change and it's not coming through, but it's getting there?
well, then I would assume that's conducive to at least a win here and there because if
Yeah,
they
that's
look,
true.
if
Yeah.
they look, that's the thing. This is very binary. This is like either they look the exact same and they're not winning, or they're looking a little better. They're winning a little bit more, but not enough. I'd still say, okay, if they're winning a little bit more, they're on the right track. I'm not going to say change it, but if they literally look as flat as they did last year, I'm going to be like, yes, time to make a change. Like, you know, it's very 1 or 0 for me. Just, you know, I want to see it.
Sleegy, are you there? We do have someone in the call chat. Do we want to take the call real quick before
I'll
we
take that.
end? All right. The one issue is I don't know if Sleegy. Yeah, he needs a link, right? Okay. All right,
Okay.
Rush. We're getting to you, Rush. I apologize. I just saw you down there. I'm not sure how long you've waited. I apologize also because we are short-staffed today.
Poor dude wanted to talk about moist, and we've moved.
Our on air. We usually have someone who helps with the waiting room, but today
It's
she was unable
Cronovi.
to make it. So yeah, it's Cam's fault. We'll just
Yeah.
blame
Yeah,
Cam.
my bad, guys. Sorry.
Yeah, so we're trying to get Rush in here. So I'm gonna pull from the chat real quick.
It's always nice to get a caller on, get a caller's opinion every time, and I'm really looking forward to once the regionals have happened, and we can have someone call in and
yeah.
go, oh, so and so should have won the final. I can't believe he missed that shot. Yeah, all the post game
Lord.
people that instead of going to Reddit, they'll come here and they'll just basically yell their Reddit.
That's the
comment at
dream,
us,
right?
You know,
Yeah.
and we can IRL downvote it.
Instead of going to Reddit, you should come on the show
We
and
can
just
bully them.
complain to us. That is the ideal
Yeah.
scenario.
Instead of getting downvoted on Reddit, come here
That's
and let us
kind of what
trash talk
bullying
you.
is, really. Just IRL downvoting.
Yeah.
Like, that's really like, yeah, we should do that.
Were you guys bullies in school? You were a bully,
No,
Sean? No
are you kidding
way.
me? No,
There's no
no
way
shot.
you were a bully.
I was getting bullied, but no. I was
Yeah, we all have
We all
like,
got bullied.
esports careers. We all got
Gaming, what do you
bullied. Come on,
think?
yeah. Come on.
Yeah, that's why we're here. I forgot our scenario. My bad.
I need the validation of others for those I didn't get in high school. All right, come on.
I had that superpower in high school where no one talked to me.
I had the
So sick.
superpower where I was friends with everyone, but actually didn't have any friends. It was insane.
Yeah, I had
I
acquaintances.
kind of understand that.
Yeah. No, like I was chill with every single person, loved everyone, but I didn't have any like actual friends I spent time with because I was on COD. So I was like, okay,
Yeah,
well,
on the grind.
I can't
They
find
weren't
friends
like
when
us.
I'm sniping in private matches. Like I just can't.
They weren't built like us. It's a shame.
All right. So we're gonna bring our final segment of the day. We're just gonna bring on Rush
Let's go.
from the caller. Yo, Rush, what's up, bro? How you doing? Doing good. Thanks for calling in. What you got for us? Okay. Frowned upon.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
oh, they can't hear. Okay, chat, you guys can't hear him. I apologize. What he's asking is if, Rush, I'm gonna let you go. I apologize for that. No, it's not your fault. We're having, we're short staffed today, so. I apologize if you were waiting a long time as well, but we'll get you on next.
It's all good.
Alright, so we'll get you on next week. However, we are gonna answer your question, alright? So we appreciate your call.
Yeah, thanks for calling in.
Have a nice day, dude. Yeah, sorry guys. What Rush was saying was that he's a keyboard and mouse player. He's Grand Champ 3 Division 1, I believe he said.
Mm-hmm.
And he was asking, you know, is keyboard and mouse frowned upon in the pro scene? And we pretty much just said, yeah. But, I mean, Yukio is a keyboard player who had a high accomplishment, right? He was
Yeah,
on
Fruity was also
Dignitas.
really good, and he was KBM.
Fruity. I mean, they still are very good. They're
yeah,
just
of
not where they were, which was like top 4.
Like winning lands, like like Fruity's got like a dream hack on him.
Is Zapdos that just played in the Rizzo 1v1? He is not KBM, is he?
I believe he's controller.
Okay,
I
think he is too.
I think at the end of the day, it just comes down to, are you proficient enough at it?
Yeah, and if you've already invested so much time into KBM as well, like you just
if
stick
it's comfortable to you and you're good at doing it, then just keep doing it. Is it frowned upon? Sure, it's a meme, but like, if you're winning, who gives a damn?
Yeah, I think if you're comfortable, send it.
Oh,
Yeah,
we
exactly.
can't forget Torsauce either. Come on, how did we?
Yeah.
How did I not say his name earlier?
Of course.
There's the peak, the ceiling is just as high on a keyboard as it is on a controller. It's just a matter of
It's just
Can you do
is
it?
it what you like?
well, it's also just imagine controlling a plane with a keyboard, right? Like I equate Rocket League aerialing to like flying a plane because of pitch and yaw and all that stuff. And it's way easier to pitch and yaw when you have a stick that pitches and yaws for you, as opposed to like buttons that do it. Just visually, because it's that's why I think controller is obviously the more popular one. It's just because I think it's more natural for a flying game, which kind of Rocket League is turning into, to have
Like
that
a driving
joystick.
game too.
Yeah,
Like
that joystick.
that Mario Kart wheel, just turn into the ball and like flip the wheel to do a flip.
The one where
That'd
you
be
stick the
sick.
Wiimote in it, and it's
Yeah,
just
you
like,
honk the
that'd be
horn for a
sick.
flip reset.
That'd be so quick. Like if you master that, GG's, bro. Like
Imagine your jump button being the horn.
that's
At land, like all you hear is
that.
"ee," and he's like up in the air. I think that'd be great.
Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, like at the end of the day, bro. Honestly, who cares?
Yeah, don't worry
Yeah,
what other people think.
do
You know,
what you
just like
want.
It's not like
Stay-
there's like aim assist in Rocket League, so like who cares?
Not yet. Yeah.
Imagine. Wild.
I have
Oh!
aimbot in Rocket League. I immediately
wanted
headshot the
to talk about
servers and
this. I
DDoS
forgot
everyone
to.
else in the lobby.
Shot the crossbar every time.
Yeah.
Real quickly, Rush, one more time. I apologize for that. We'll get it figured out for next time. It's on me. Real quick, did you guys see the drama in the freestyle community this week?
This week.
And I wouldn't say it's drama, it's more of a problem. There's a guy on TikTok that's faking freestyle plays. Apparently there's a program out that can allow you to get perfect touches every time.
Oh,
and
is it that free training clip that goes on for like 5 minutes?
Yeah, and it looks like you're doing it legit.
But it's more of like a segmented. It's almost like when people fake a speed run and they say it's like full runtime, but it's just like spliced.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with exactly how it works. However, it's concerning.
I can provide a little bit of context on this as well, Kronovi. You pretty much got close. It's a task system, so like normally for a tool-assisted speed run, but it's the same sort of system that's being used here, where you can predefine inputs ahead of time and then have them re-execute. And if you can do that while setting up your car and a ball in a very specific spot on the map, you can theoretically recreate any sort of combination that you would be able to do. But since it's a computer executing it, it would be perfect. I know, like, these sorts of systems have existed for a while. You normally see them when you see the bot sort of choreographed shows, but now it looks like someone either got their hands on one or made their own version of it, because I know one of the main ones is not the one that's being used in this to sort of emulate freestyle movement.
Yeah, and they're just marketing it as their own clips, not necessarily, hey, this is what's theoretically possible in Rocket League with this tool. It's like, hey, look at this cool thing I scored.
Yeah.
And that's wrong. It's immoral.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it only goes to as far as the extent of, like, they're doing it for content, okay, and then if there's any application outside of it, it's not going to work. So, and I mean, like, I get why it's an issue. I'm not downplaying that. I'm saying, like, the odds are this person's never going to go competitive, so the integrity parts for them is going to be just as bad as it is now. Like, they're faking clips. This existed back in trick shotting. Like, people faked clips and you're like, that's terrible, that sucks. But in the grand scheme of things, it never amounted to anything so serious that, like, it ruined the community. It's just like, okay, they're annoying and they exist.
I just worry about the freestyle community. Because if you have some guy getting popular on TikTok making these things, there's some people don't know it's fake. Because I will say, it's very well edited. I mean, I could kind of tell looking at it, like, there's no way this is real, this is insane. But I just worry that maybe the freestyle community, which I enjoy a lot, is going to compare themselves to this guy and start to, like, I don't know, evaluate, like, themselves based on this person that is doing something that isn't even real.
Well, the nice thing about social
they would
media
never worry.
Yeah, the nice thing about social media is that everybody's constantly getting vetted by each other. So, like, if you're a freestyler or you're in the community and you see this and you're like, wow, this is the craziest thing I've ever seen, and you actively involve or try to follow the freestyle community, and then you find freestylers who are notable in the community who are saying this is bullshit, the case closed.
Yeah, popularity and the respect of your peers and actually being able to, like, replicate that in a freestyle tournament. Like, the guy would be exposed as a fraud the moment he stepped in a private game.
I think it's because it happened so quickly that he got.
Well, he is a freestyler, though, I think. I think he is a freestyler, but he's also just a freestyler that also fakes it.
I see. Well, the thing is, the top freestyler would see the difference between, he hit, like, one nice clip in, like, his 5th try versus, like, almost every single time nailing every single thing for 5 minutes straight,
Yeah, like, the players are going to handle this themselves, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, the community will just weed it out, and then...
There's no way to hack, right? Like, could that be transitioned into other stuff? I'm not a hacking wizard.
To is to, like, a script, but there's no way that you're going to be playing a game and you realize that you go for an aerial and you get a flip reset and you're like, oh, I'm at the perfect angle to press the quad flip reset script button and it's going to work every time. Like, it's just never going to happen.
Okay.
Rocket League is so difficult to cheat in the conventional ways that people think about cheating. I think the most that's happened recently, or ever really in the past, I say recently, but it's probably a while ago, is people figuring out how to, like, like, lag switch or, like, like, make the server, like, drop the server, like, lag it out or something. That's probably the worst you could ever do.
Oh.
And one final question for the day. Spaceman, do you know Nadia in COD?
I do.
Is she legit?
I know reputable people, and reputable people have told me that she is fine. And at the end of the day, I'm like, okay. I don't interact with her that much. She seems like a nice person. Honest to God, I don't give a damn. Like, if she does, let the community handle it. If she doesn't, cool. I don't give a fuck. I'm sorry. I don't.
She is all over my TikTok page.
Yeah, oh, I know. It's actually an unhealthy obsession that people have with just trying to... Yeah, like, honestly, there's so much of that allegation stuff that I deal with on a normal basis because of competitive, because COD's on PC now. I just stopped caring. I'm like, you guys figure it out, and when you're good, you come to me and tell me what the deal is.
That's a good attitude to have. Yeah.
So.
All right. So I think that's gonna wrap it up, guys, for Off the Post this week. Apologize for the tech issues we had today. We'll get that fixed for you next time. But I thought it was a great overall show. Shout out to Crow, Spaceman, Sleegy, our producer. Make sure to follow them. Okay. Follow their
me,
ads
guys.
on here.
Only follow
Cronovi,
me.
at
No.
Spaceman. And Sleegy, do you have a self-promo slide up there for you? I think it's at Sleegy. Okay. It'll come up in a second.
Whole video package.
Yeah. Sleegy does a great job for us behind the scenes. Christine as well. And yeah, thank you for calling in, Rush. If you guys want, make sure to join our Discord so that you can find when we're going live this week. We interact in the Discord throughout the week, and that's how you get called on the show. And once Sleegy gets his slide up here, we'll head out. But yeah, thanks, guys. I'm really excited for next week. Keep an eye out for us. We're going to be doing tier lists once all the rosters are announced, just for NA, because EU is coming out next week. And yeah, let's see that slide, Sleegy. Bang!
Yeah.
There it is.
Wow.
Right and easy. At Sleegy
Nice.
on Twitter. See how fast he came up with that? Unbelievable. That's how good he is. Make sure you give him a follow. He's our producer. He's also chiming in time to time. We love him here. And that's all for us, guys. Have a good night. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.
know that you're mine, but I wish we could pause and press rewind.